Okay, so I'm here to talk a little bit about um, the headlines that have come out of the interview I did with David Jaffe. If you go to the 2 minute and 40-second mark of that interview, you'll see that Jaffe was asking me about what I thought of Days Gone, going on to PS Plus, or some of the free game programs that Sony has. And I said I didn't have anything to say about that because, as I've said repeatedly, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what Ben Studio's doing. I don't know how well Days Gone has done. I know as much as the rest of you because I look at the headlines. I saw Jason Schreier's article and so on. So, I'm kind of responding to things the way you guys are. And this is totally on me. I kind of like off the cuff, brought up to Jaffe one of my pet peeves, which was the way games are supported at launch or not. And I certainly did not mean to imply that everybody should buy games blindly, or that you should buy games that are buggy, or you should buy games that get really bad reviews. I mean, I wasn't trying to say that at all. All I was trying to say was, hey, if you really, really like the concept of a thing, and and you can afford it, and it's something you're really interested in, and the key is, if you can afford it, in the launch window, try to support the developers by buying the game for a higher price than, if you wait a year. And if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, I'm not telling you to do that. I was just simply saying that I think that the chances of something getting a sequel or being supported by being turned into a franchise probably going to be much higher if something is supported from the beginning. So, again, this is just my opinion. I don't even know that all game companies work that way. I don't even know that Sony necessarily works that way, because I've seen lots and lots of comments, sort of showing how, that may be wrong-headed thinking. I don't know. But so anyway, what I want to do in this video is kind of respond to all the engagement that's sort of come my way because of, IGN and a few other magazines pulled this headline out. And again, it's not their fault. I actually said these things. So, I'm not holding anyone responsible for this but me. So I want to try to clean this up a little bit. Normally, in fact, I've never done a video like this before, but I just, and I want to respond to as many as I possibly can. People who have been following Days Gone for the last couple of years know that, dude, I respond to almost every single message I get because I'm not huge. Jaffe's got like 40,000 followers. I've got like 4. So it's not like it's an onerous task for me to be able to respond to fans or players or gamers who are, interested in a lot of things, not just Days Gone, but all sorts of things we talk about. So I've always tried to do that. But now I've got so many comments in my feed. It's going to be tough to respond to each individually. Plus, I was a little worried about responding to things and having it kind of turn into a text war, which I don't want, because I don't want to have other things I've said taken out of context. So please, IGN, if anybody's, scrubbing through this video to try to find, more clickbait headlines, give me a break. Don't do that. I'm going to try to be completely honest here, and that's what I always try to be. And yeah, sometimes it gets me in trouble. So back to engagement, I love Days Gone fans. I love gamers in general. So if you supported me and defended me, thank you very much. And also, if you've been critical of me and have critical things to say, thank you as well. I like the engagement. So it's like, I don't agree with all of you. You don't agree with me sometimes, most of the time, maybe. I think that's okay. And I've never blocked anyone on Twitter before until this week. And dude, the only people I'm blocking are people who call me names. It's like, all right, Four Eyes. It's like, really? Are we in grade school that you're going to come on Twitter and tell a complete stranger that, I don't know. Anyway, I don't have time for that. So if you're name calling, then yeah, I'm probably going to block you and I'm not going to respond. Other than that, I will definitely try to respond. So I'm doing this video mostly so I can just get through as much engagement as I can and, try to address everything that I think is sort of misinformation that's sort of grown out of this. And this is probably going to be the last thing I have to say about it. So as I scroll through these, I just want to also point out that I'm not going to take time to translate the foreign language ones, but I will come back and read those later. I've read some of them before, but I only have a certain amount of time. And I'm also probably not going to respond to likes and retweets and whatnot. I'm going to try to just go to the original poster. So let's see how this goes. Shout out for the newest Path of Exile Legion. Been a huge fan since GGG. Yeah, okay, so again, I'm playing Path of Exile, and it's kind of one of those things where it ties in a little bit to what Jaffe and I were talking about. So Path of Exile is a free-to-play game, and I was a beta supporter. I paid them their full price for the beta way at the beginning. Path of Exile is kind of, and again, I'm not talking about Days Gone, so I've said that a million times. So don't draw correlations between what I'm saying here. I'm really saying that Path of Exile can be kind of a buggy mess when it comes out. It's patched continually. I still love the game, and I still, I had huge frame rate issues when it first came out. It was really hard to play. They fixed it over time, but I've been there and I've supported them from the beginning. So I'm not one of their whales. I don't buy, big fancy angel wings and other add-ons, but I do buy some of their support packs and so on. So kudos to Grinding Gear Games and Path of Exile. It's a great game. If you haven't tried it, I'm plugging it now. It's really, really good game. I'll get back to that one when I find the original post. Okay, so Noah Weaver, isn't Days Gone Ben Studio's first console game? No. So Ben Studio was eidetic before, and we did all the siphon filters, the original siphon filters on PS1. And some of the guys before I got there, they did Bubsy 3D. So they've we've been doing console games. They've been doing console games for a long time. That was not the first one. Okay, that's a reply, but maybe I should just do it that way. Just wanted you to know that I used a free trial of PlayStation Now to play and beat your game without having to pay anything. Dude, more power to you. Again, as I've said before, it's like I'm not at Sony. You're not taking money out of my pocket. And I think I saw Eric Jensen post earlier that we appreciate all fans. Anybody who wants to play the game, play it. If you get it through PS Now, if you buy it used, if you get another, somebody who through a subscription service, that's awesome. I love player engagement. I want people to play the game. So I don't judge on whether you paid for the game or not. If you had fun and played it, that's awesome. So kudos to you. Kara says, so when games cost roughly 10% of the average household disposable income. Dude, I totally agree. So again, I'm not making, and I know I've seen some other comments, and maybe we'll get to them. I've seen some comments that Garvin obviously was never poor, and Garvin never had to struggle financially. Dude, I did grow up poor. My mom was widowed at when I was 12 years old, and she was raising 5 kids. And dude, it's like been through some tough times, and I had 4 kids of my own by the time I was 21. I grew up in poverty-stricken Southern Oregon. So you're preaching to the choir here. Yes, I absolutely support all gamers, and I understand that there's economic realities of how many games you can buy. So that wasn't what I was trying to say. Was that everybody should support games no matter what. I hope, and I realize it maybe came across that way, so I do apologize for that. Dude, not my intent, not at all what I was trying to say. I will say that if you can afford the game and you are interested in it, then yes, please buy the game. Don't deliberately wait until it comes on sale because you're gaming the man or whatever. Don't do that. But yes, I totally agree that that games are super expensive and that not everybody can afford to pay full price. And I respect that. So yes, people have limited budgets. I think I went over that. I appreciate the support. Yes, I feel like there have been, and again, I think there's just kind of a thing that happens on Twitter and other social media where, you see a headline, you respond to that, and then, off we go to the races. And it's like, I feel like some of my words were distorted, but I also feel like I didn't choose some of them very carefully. I did actually say, hey, buy the game at full price at launch. And again, what I meant was, buy the game for as much as you can afford in a timely window that lets the company know it's being supported and that you like their product. That's what I should have said. platinum the game, awesome. So again, it's like I'm going to come back, and if anybody beats the game, and you can go back through my Twitter feed and show that this is true, I have tried to literally thank every single person who responds to me or engages with me and talks about the game, and especially those that beat it. I try to, I've said thank you every single time. So I never once asked, hey, did you buy the game? No, I don't care. So it's like, again, I'm no longer at Ben Studio, and I don't benefit from that one way or the other, but I definitely benefit from you having played something that I helped create, and I totally and honestly appreciate that. So kudos to you for beating the game. Yeah, so again, on this one, I totally agree. I think if had I said that intentionally, that would be really annoying, and I would be angry at me as well. But that's kind of not what I was trying to say. Thank you very much, James Baldock. Again, thank you for completing the game. Thank you for playing the game. I personally really appreciate every fan, everybody who plays the game. Yeah, so Buttrick's production. Again, I don't disagree with this at all. It's like, and as I told Jaffe, I don't know about Days Gone. So yes, there is a narrative out there, by the way, that Days Gone shipped to some big buggy mess, and I don't agree with that narrative either. It's like, I played the game on a regular standard console, on a regular PS4. Yes, I've heard it plays better on a PS4 Pro. Yes, I heard that there were technical issues that a bunch of people experienced. I personally didn't see them. I don't know why. We knew of some issues right before launch, but I think the narrative is, oh my God, it was a huge buggy mess, and that's why it got bad reviews, and that's why nobody bought it. And I'm like, well, I don't, I don't know that that's the case, and I do know that I watched every live stream of the game when people were playing it, and I don't remember seeing any glitches there either. So again, I'm not trying to say that it wasn't glitchy or that your experience um, wasn't accurate. I'm just saying that I think that that's a narrative that doesn't have that isn't fully accurate either. But having said that, I totally agree with this. That yes, you shouldn't have to pay for a buggy product, and if you pay for it and it's buggy, then you should be able to return it and get your full money back. So I agree. Liking my tweets, thank you very much. Kiss the sequel goodbye. Again, I've said on Jaffe's stream, and I've said it repeatedly, I don't work at Ben Studios, so I'm not talking about Days Gone. I said that at the 2 minute and 40 minute mark. It's like, this is not about Days Gone, guys. This really isn't. This is about, in general, how things have to be supported. However you do that in order for them to get sequels. So that's kind of what I was saying. So industry as a whole, again, these are people just liking other tweets. So hopefully we'll get to the actual original tweet. Yeah, so I disagree with this. Yes, it can be time consuming, and that's why I'm doing this video, because I just don't have time to type all this out and respond to it all. But I honestly don't mind engaging with people who don't agree with me. So I don't have a problem with that, because oftentimes they're right. So yes, I was talking about piracy. So again, I did specifically say, hey, I'm talking about supporting the game. And yes, I made the mistake of saying buy it at full price. And I probably should have said, hey, don't pirate the game. I don't know that piracy is such a big thing anymore, except maybe on PC games, because I honestly haven't been following it. But it was definitely a thing on the PSP. And just in general. So, I've had other sequels that were actually planned and were in development, and we actually had a working prototype for one, and they didn't get made because the platforms got discontinued. So, and that was purely because of sales, I think. Again, I don't have the numbers. I'm not high enough on the totem pole to talk about numbers, and again, it's not really kind of my place to do that. But just from my personal experience, I've had games that I wanted to do get canceled because they were not supported. So maybe that's my fault, honestly, because it's possible that, hey, maybe the games just weren't good enough to get huge followings. I think I mentioned that to Jaffe as well. It's not like, that all of my games have sold like gangbusters. That's just, sort of sadly not the case. But anyway, regardless, yes, I was talking about piracy specifically on the PSP. did hurt. So yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. Um, and again, I'm going to spend more time on the critical comments here than the positive ones. I'll try to come back later and thank everybody individually. But it's daunting because there are so many people engaging in this conversation. So I'll do my best, but I can't make any promises at this point. So this kind of relates to something that Jaffe actually said on the stream, which again, this is why I wasn't talking about Days Gone, because I don't know. But it's entirely possible that if a game didn't do super, super well at launch and got a lot of patches and then, was discovered by people, because there's lots of reasons people don't play a game at launch. It's not just because it's buggy or the reviews were bad or whatever. Maybe they just didn't hear about it, or they were busy with other things, or they had other games that they were playing. So so again, it's like, I wasn't talking about Days Gone for those reasons. So he brought up the point that, well, maybe it'll get have a huge resurgence in popularity and make a huge comeback. And again, that's kind of assuming that there's a narrative out there that it didn't do well at all, which I don't know. So I definitely think that it's possible that because we've seen it with some movies and we've seen it with some TV shows, it's like, well, maybe it wasn't as successful as it might have been, but it became way popular later on because of support. And support can also mean things like that the petition that I saw was going around. They're like, hey, we want a sequel. So that kind of thing shows support as well. Yeah, dude, again, I've kind of addressed this a little bit. I don't disagree. It's like, yes, it's on developers to make product that is going to be engaging and is delivered on time and delivered bug free. Totally agree with that. Thank you for the support. Yep, I know. I keep saying this over and over, but it's true. Gaming is expensive. Yeah. So I've kind of covered that over a little bit, and I totally disagree. I mean, I'm sorry, I totally agree. It's like games are expensive, and I understand that, man, there's no way any gamer, even people who have money, it's like you don't have time to support them all, let alone the money necessarily. So I get it. So again, just going back to my point, I hope is that if it's something you're interested in, if it's a subject matter you really like, even if it's something that you're like, well, your friends are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why are they making that game? It's like, if it's something you're interested in and you can support it, please do, no matter what it is. Yeah, he's replying to something that I haven't read yet. So again, in general, this thread is kind of talking about the expensive games, which I think I've kind of covered. So I totally agree the games are expensive. Yes, I totally agree. And again, I wasn't telling anyone to buy any game. What I was saying was, dude, if you want your game that you really are interested in to have a sequel, find a way to support it. That's all I was saying. It's like, I would never tell a player, buy my game or buy any game. It's like, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I think this is interesting too. It's like, at some point I might approach Sony and ask if they're interested in allowing me to do some kind of a making of, because I think you guys would be totally fascinated by, some of the stuff went into the art book, by the way. So if you haven't gotten the art book because you think, okay, well, and again, I don't make a dime off the art book, by the way, so don't think I'm plugging something for my benefit. But I've said this a bunch of times. This is not just an art book. So the Art of Days Gone is literally actually, let me grab it real quick. So the Art of Days Gone is more than just an art book. It's got all this amazing concept art done by the concept art team, but it's got all kinds of things, like we were talking about. Jaffe and I were talking about Tucker a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see this if you haven't had it, but there's all kinds of little text things from the developers, from the character artists, from some designers, from some engineers, and so on. So and there's a lot of stuff for me in here about, the sort of behind the scenes process. So the book it's full of spoilers, by the way, so don't read it until you've played the game. But the book is more than just concept art and pictures. It's got a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. All right, having said that, there's very little about the script there because the script was something like 12,000 pages. So I wouldn't even know how to start doing a book that had, or maybe videos or something. I don't know. I didn't even know how that would do that. But anyway, that's all property owned by Sony, so I would have to get permission to do that regardless. So yeah, that would be a fun thing to work on. So this is an interesting point. I'm not sure that I didn't say that the score. So again, this is part of an earlier conversation, so I'm not sure exactly where this is going, but I definitely don't think the Metacritic score is the only thing that matters. I think there are other factors that sort of play out in whether a game is successful or not. Yeah, so again, this is another comment that's like, hey, it was really broken on the PS4, so I take your word for it. Yeah, I think there were a bunch of issues. I definitely know that there were a couple of patches that came out right away that fixed some of the key issues, and I think the game's in pretty good shape right now. So again, I wasn't talking about Days Gone, and I certainly wasn't saying buy broken games. Yeah, so Jaffe actually said this immediately after I said it, and that should have been a red flag for me, like right away, like, oh, you said something dumb. Yes, you're absolutely correct. You cannot know whether you love a game before you buy it. So that's why I kind of said I should have said window-ish, right? It's like if it's something like if for example, that you've been dying to play, a game where you play Kratos and you're fighting, giant mythological monsters, you kind of know what that is. And don't if you can afford it and it's something you're interested in, then support the developers. And also, by the way, rent it if you want first. Is that even still possible? I think it is. So find a way to play it if you want, and then if you do like it, support it by buying it. That's if you can afford it. So that's kind of all I was saying. So good point, and I agree. You can't know. Again, that's part of a longer conversation. Not really. It sounds interesting. I'm not sure. Again, this is what's interesting about this engagement is like there are these threads that are talking about sports games now and horror movies and all this stuff going on that's like pretty far afield from from my interview with Jaffe, but it's super interesting. Love memes, great. I don't know what that's all about. Twitter has taught me that a game isn't getting a 90 meta, then it's trash. Then, dude, every game I've ever worked on was trash because I think you're being facetious here. I hope, yeah. No game I've ever worked on. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Siphon 1 was pretty close to a 90, but most of my games have been in the low to mid 80s. So take that for what it's worth. Not going to get into all that stuff about MLB. I'm not even sure where they're going with that. All right, why did this stop scrolling? There we go. I actually had a close friend tell me that I need a media class, and trust me on this, Sony has spent a lot of money training over the years, training me and other developers on media. And Jaffe said something else which I totally agree with and thought was very apropos. And I think he's tweeted this later too. He's like, well, you say something, gets taken out of context, and then there's a reason why PR exists, and they won't let you talk to anyone. So yes, I totally agree that I could have said that way better. And if I had that to do over again, I would totally have put myself under the guidance of a PR person saying, don't say that. So yes, I don't disagree. Yeah, so another one about the cost, dude, I totally get it. So yeah, it's like by the way, I in my own personal business, when I'm working on books and stuff, I've shipped books to Brazil and I've shipped books to overseas, and it's expensive. And it's like I'm constantly talking to people who would love a copy of the book, and they just can't afford it. So they let me know that they're like they're interested, but they can't afford it. And dude, seriously, if I could, I would ship it to them at the same cost that it costs to ship in the United States, but it's very, very expensive. So again, I'm not trying to judge anybody's financial situation, so that's not my intent. Again, I think there's a thank you for the comment. I think that there's some truth to this. It's like there it's a and this is like, again, kind of one of the things I was trying to say. Games are a business. They are. So it's like there are deadlines. You have to have, because especially if a company has done a marketing spend and they've got, TV ads coming out or whatever, and then the game gets pushed, and we've all seen that happen. So I think games do get delayed all the time for the better, to make the games better. Sony has certainly been very good about that, about delaying things and giving teams more time. Jaffe and I talked about that too. So I think Sony's pretty good about that. But at the end of the day, it is a business. It's got to come out at some point. It's like, I don't know, that's going to generate a headline, right? That's going to say something like, hey, Garvin says that, it's okay to push out shitty games. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm agreeing with this person that, that I don't always have the say, or I'm no longer in the games industry, but when I didn't always have the say over what the schedule was. So thank you, PS Dojo, for supporting the game. I really appreciate that. Again, I no longer work at Sony. It doesn't benefit me personally, but I'm saying in general, I love it when people support the games. And that's not necessarily by playing, like as I said earlier, it's not necessarily means paying full price. It means playing the game, talking about the game, getting other people interested in the game. That's supporting the game too. Yeah, this is a really good question. So again, had I thought that through, I might not have ever brought it up in the first place, because I don't know that there's an easy fix for this. I don't know that there's an easy answer. So games are expensive. Sometimes they take a long time to make, and I don't know that demos and trials will fix that. So I don't know. Yeah, another comment about the finances of it, dude. Totally, I get it. I totally agree. So by the way, I mentioned that I grew up in poverty, and I'll post a link. One of the paintings I did for that Karl Barks book, not the big painting book that I showed Jaffe, but my other book on Karl Barks. One of the paintings I did was called Hunger, and that was, literally that was sort of a metaphorical it was me talking about my childhood, and it shows this dude who's got, let me just grab it real quick and I'll show you. So it's so this is one of my personal favorite paintings that I've done, and it's literally like this overworked dad and mom surrounded by a bunch of kids, and there's no food in the house. So it's, again, I use funny animals or anthropomorphic animals to sort of explore subjects like this. But dude, this was me growing up. So it's, because I'll get to some of these other comments where they say Garvin's a millionaire. No, Garvin is not a millionaire. And Garvin did not grow up wealthy. So this was my childhood. So it doesn't mean that, that my experience is any more or less valid than yours. It just means that I'm aware that nobody can afford to pay full price for everything. I get that. But I also get that if nobody supports a game, then it's not going to get a sequel. That's kind of all I was saying. Thank you for that support. Yeah, I've read a lot of comments about Cyberpunk, and I honestly don't have a lot to say about it because it's not my kind of game. I stopped playing those kinds of futuristic. I love their Witcher game, by the way, but I didn't beat it, and I kind of stopped playing, just a couple hours in because I lost interest. So I didn't get Cyberpunk. So I didn't have that happen. But I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I think I responded to that already. Sorry, I'll get back to the foreign language ones. So this is again liking a tweet that I'll probably see later on in the scroll down. But again, I totally appreciate. I know Jeff does as well. Anytime somebody plays something we've done and comments on it, even if they're critical, I appreciate the engagement. Okay, so this is a phrase that I see all the time, and I think that this is one I'm just going to disagree with it. I wasn't blaming the consumer. I was stating an economic fact that something to be successful has to be supported, and that doesn't blame, and that gets turned into a headline or a catchphrase. John Garvin is blaming the consumer. No, I kind of am not, and I've heard Jaffe defend me on this too, and he's absolutely right. I am a consumer too. I buy games the same as the rest of you. And, I have the same resentments you guys have. If the game is buggy, or if I can't play it for some reason, or if it's not what they said it was, or whatever, it's like, hey, there's no way I think it's the consumer's responsibility to, make up for the shortcomings of a product, no matter what that product is. So I am not at all blaming the consumer. Please believe me on that. So too many questions, McGee. This is an interesting one. It's like the guy has a net worth of around 12 million. Right. I'll tell you what, too many questions, McGee, ink from A Stone. Let's talk on direct message. And if you're willing to give me the difference between what I actually have and that 12 million, let's make that deal, because no, I do not have a net worth of around 12 million. That's ridiculous. It's like, where does this come from? So this is the kind of thing that is just, to be honest, pure misinformation. I have no idea where @ink from A Stone got this information, or whether they're being serious or what. But now people are going to read this thread and they're going to go, hey, Garvin's a fucking millionaire. It's like, why is he telling us? Number one, I wasn't telling anybody to do anything. But number two, I'm not a millionaire. So I find this particularly annoying. This is the kind of thing, like, so far on this video, I have not been annoyed. Now I'm annoyed because this is just misinformation. It's just an outright lie. And that's, I think, one of the problems with, I think there's a snapshot of what's happening in our country right now, where people just make stuff up I don't know, because of their agenda. And, the person that they're attacking gets hurt by it. And yeah, I think that's just not cool, dude. Thank you for that support. Yeah, I think I kind of covered this. I definitely am not saying that you should support blindly anything. So if you're interested in it, I think I should have said, if I didn't say that, then that's definitely what I meant, was if you're interested in the subject and you do your research and it's something you think you might like, and not on day one, but maybe certainly not a pre-order, but definitely in a time frame that allows the company to know that you're supporting it. Thank you for that support. Yeah, so this Prince Tybalt thread, it's a long one, and I probably won't go over all of that, but I definitely appreciate his support. He makes some really good comments, some really good points. Dude, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to have time to address all of them. Anybody who's on this thread defending piracy or saying that it's okay to steal stuff because you can't afford it, or it's not, that's all just bullshit. All right, so don't come at me with pro-piracy comments, because I don't have time for them. But thank you, Prince, for the support. I appreciate it. Yeah, I saw that, Tyrell. Yeah, again, dude, this is, I think this is interesting how, IGN gave Days Gone a 6.5. Again, the narrative out there seems to be that, all these companies gave the game a low review score because it was buggy. I don't remember that to be the case. I remember mentioning, yes, there were technical issues, there were framing issues and so on. Again, I didn't see any of those, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. But I think there was also a lot of other narratives around Days Gone. Like it was like, hey, why does this game exist? What, why do we need another open world game? Why do we need another zombie game? Why do we need a gruff white protagonist? There were a lot of comments that reviewers sort of picked apart the game for various reasons. So and I'm not gonna, again, I don't work at Sony anymore. I don't work on that team. I don't even take this personally anymore because it is what it is. But I do think that that's interesting. That that I think if anything, this shows a little bit of bias on the part of maybe a couple of different reviewers because it's IGN, but it may not be the same person reviewing it. So I don't know. But yeah, if the stories are true about how Cyberpunk's launch went and how bad that was, again, maybe the reviewer at IGN just didn't see those issues. So that's all I got to say about that. So again, I appreciate you at Q. I've gotten tons and tons of comments like this. And I don't take it personally. It's the thing is, look, you're going to respond to what you respond to. It's like not everybody likes the kinds of things I like. And that's why there's so much diversity in content out there. So, again, if you don't like it, if you don't like the story, if you don't like zombies, whatever, that's fine. It's like, you're going to like what you like. Thank you very much for that support. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna address the pirates because if you're into piracy and you think you're justified in stealing people's work, then that's what you're gonna do. Thank you for that. I'm sorry about the foreign language ones. I'll try to get back to those. I know, right? It's like more piracy stuff. It's like, I don't know how people think that that's okay to do. Thank you, Prince. Love your thread. So Jesse Granados. Yeah, dude, again, it's like play it if you want, don't play it if you want. That's going to be up to you. I'm not on here to tell people what to do. It's like I don't know if you think this is a burn against me, that you've downloaded it but you're not going to bother, or that you have it but you're not going to bother downloading it. That's fine. That doesn't hurt my feelings. Thank you for that support. We've addressed this, so yeah, I totally agree. The industry needs to do a better job. So since I'm here anyway, I might as well mention a couple of other things about this. Is that just maybe there needs to be more transparency and more behind the scenes looks at how development happens. Jaffe and I tried to touch on a few of these things, but we obviously, even in 4 hours, because it was a long interview, didn't have time to cover everything. But I think there's definitely something to be said for giving developers a break because games are huge now and they're complex and they have so many moving parts. And man, it's again, the headline is going to be Garvin's trying to make excuses for buggy games. I'm not. I'm saying, having been there and having worked on those teams, I understand the complexities and the problems that are trying to be solved. At the same time, trying to make a compelling game. At the same time, trying to meet a deadline. So I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm supporting Grinding Gears, even though the game I downloaded and played right after I talked to Jaffe, there was a patch the next day to fix issues, and I didn't scream at them and say, hey, because number one, it's free, so I guess I really can't complain. So maybe that's not a good comparison. But anyway, I support them even though they have bugs. Yes, totally agree. In an ideal world, a game would come out and actually make you feel like it's worth the money you're spending on it, no matter how much it is. So I totally agree with you on that. Not, oops, now what's happening? Okay. Yeah, so again, a lot of comments about games not being worth the money that is being asked for them. And I don't disagree with that. I definitely think, and whether I agree it or not, you have, as a consumer, and this is why I'm pro-consumer, you have the right to decide how much you're willing to pay for something. That doesn't in any way alter the fact and the truth of what I said, which is that if something you love isn't supported, it's not going to get, they're not going to make it anymore. So they're both true. So it's like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't agree with this. The game industry is not a shithole. It's got issues like every other entertainment industry and every other business. So there are great people in it. I worked in it for 30 years, some amazing people. And I just disagree with this. Sorry. Yep, I totally agree. We've covered that. Thank you for the support. Thank you for playing. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Never said anything like this. And again, this is the kind of, the thing that's sort of, I'm really sad about, honestly. It's like, dude, really? So I was trying to say that financially, the people who can't afford games don't deserve to have fun. No, I don't think I said anything like that. And I'm sorry if that was misconstrued or if my words weren't clear enough. No, I'm not rich. Thank you. Not placing blame on consumers. Covered that. So, dude, it's like, where did that come from? I wish I had $12 million. I really do. Yeah, I think I've covered this. No, I'm not asking people to buy anything blindly, period. So kind of not what I was saying. Thank you for that. I totally agree. Okay, now we're getting into some of the original comments, which is good. Didn't care about the game. That's fine. Thank you for that. Thank you, Prince. Yes, we've talked about yours. Can't wait to see what some of these foreign language ones say. Yeah, so this piracy, man, it's like, why would somebody be so proud of the fact that they're stealing a game? Because again, he's not stealing anything from me. I'm not there. It's not like I'm going to make a dime off of whether he buys the game or not. So more power to you, dude. You're stealing other people's hard work, and they have families too. Thank you for not playing my game, I guess. Oh, what's going on there? Okay. I think I covered all that. Thank you. Totally agree with that, as I said. Yep. So again, everybody who is engaging on this thread, just be aware that I've looked at all the comments. I'm just kind of skimming through them now, looking for ones that I think everybody who's going to bother to watch this video might find interesting. And again, my main goal is to try to set the record straight, and I think it's easier to do it if you can hear my voice and see my face rather than trying to do it all via text. Right. So yeah, I've seen this thread a few times. I'm not blaming consumers and fans of things, and that certainly was not my intent. And I love I love gamers completely. I'm not holding gamers responsible for the sales of a game. Oh wait, no, I take that back. I am holding gamers responsible if they don't support something they love. So again, I've seen this example before too, and I remember some of the issues with that. And they fixed them, right? It's like, because I didn't play the game, so so I'm not 100% familiar with all their issues, but I think they fixed them, and I think that definitely gamers are not responsible for whether that game succeeded because it came out buggy or missing features or whatever. So I don't know. I guess maybe I do agree with you then that gamers are not responsible for if a game is done poorly, then then you shouldn't support it. Thank you. Yep, I agree. Don't spend the money. I do not know the plans for Days Gone. Anything. I don't know the plans for any game that's being in development right now. I'm not in the game industry anymore, so I don't know. Talking about Days Gone versus Dying Light, which I don't have a comment on. I'm gonna try to get back to that thread. Yes. Yes, and I can't emphasize this enough because I made that announcement a while ago, but probably not everybody saw it. So, but I did say it repeatedly on Jaffe's show. Hey, I'm not in Ben's studio and haven't been for 2 years. So that's why very few of my comments, aside from some of the direct questions about writing and some decisions that were made in the game, I'm making no comments about even the success of Days Gone. And I argued with Jaffe about this. He was I think he was convinced that that Schreier was right, that Days Gone 2 is not being made. Dude, I don't know that. I'm not there. I don't know. I haven't been there for 2 years. Yep. Don't disagree with that. Except for, hey, no, I'm not rich. So I'm not entitled to anything like everyone else, and so on. So doesn't look like a good headline. Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's not the case because I wasn't talking about Days Gone. I was talking about actually other games I've worked on that didn't get supported by gamers. And again, I'm not blaming gamers for that. Maybe the game wasn't good enough, or the platform they weren't interested in, or the subject matter they weren't interested in. So here's a story that I wanted to tell Jaffe and I just didn't get around to telling. I got into an argument with an Uber driver who was a huge gamer, who picked me up to take me to the airport. He knew who I was. And so he proudly told me that he and his friends never buy anything at full price. And it's like, and he didn't say it because they couldn't afford it. He said, because they just don't. It's like, no, I'm never buying a game at full price. And I'm like, all right, well, games come out at the prices they come out at because they have to sell a certain amount at a certain price point in order to make money. And that's, if the game doesn't make money, they're not going to make more of them. And I told him that, and he got super angry with me. So I probably should have remembered that story better and, realized that this was going to make people upset because they're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, that everyone has to pay full price. So and again, I wasn't talking about Days Gone. So that was a different game. So that's back when I was working on the PSP. So again, I just think this is erroneous. I'm not pissed about my game bombing because I don't work there anymore. I don't care. Well, I lie about that. I do care, but it doesn't affect me personally or financially. So I don't know why people would think I'm pissed about that. Nope, I covered that. We talked about this a little bit too. I think that, again, generalizations, it's like, I appreciate the support, Antonio. I am reticent because I have kids who are millennials, and and they don't fit the stereotype. So, and I know Jeff made a comment or something about millennials, and I think he was being facetious. I think this is not helpful in general. I don't think all gamers are this, or millennials are that, or Gen Xers or whatever. Or in my case, I'm a boomer. Hey, boomer. Yeah, boomer. Way to go, boomer. It's like, it's not useful, I don't think. Thank you for that. I'm actually, again, I wasn't talking about Days Gone. I'm not there. I don't know what it's doing. I don't agree that it was a broken mess when it was released. So there's a lot of things in this statement that I just don't agree with. Yes, I covered that and I agree. Thank you for that support. Thank you. David Jaffe for asking me game-related questions, which I like. Thank you for the support. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I love this. So again, hopefully I'll get down to scroll down far enough to see the actual poster. So there's some amazing artists in the Days Gone community who are doing fan art, posters, screen captures, screen art. One of my favorite parts of engaging with the gaming community. So I just, it's like when I was working at Sony, I couldn't, and I can't comment on things like fan fiction, but I have read it all and I do find it all super interesting. And yeah, so kudos to you guys for engaging with the content in a way that's super positive. I love that. We're talking about the reviews. Yes. So, and it wasn't that people didn't buy it at launch. It was that this caused that behavior. When it was sold at launch or sold at a discount, people took the chance and realized the blow was BS. So I'd have to get to the original comment that that person is responding to see kind of what that thread's about. Yes, I've covered that. Bro, you big dumb. Don't buy a game on sale a year later and love it. Most games released nowadays are buggy. Okay, so yeah, the general idea is the same. I've already covered that. No, don't buy games if they're buggy, please. So Shadow Regime, thank you for the support. Again, I don't work there, so I can't give you any news right now on Days Gone 2. I just don't know. So hopefully, because I know Jaffe was complaining about that, hopefully Sony makes some announcements sometime soon so people know what Ben Studio is working on, because I don't know. Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah, so again, completely fair response. So, thank you with that. Thank you for that, Mad Me. Everybody engages differently with games. It's like some are going to love it, some aren't, some are going to get bored. This is true across the reviews too. So, again, totally respect that opinion. It's fine. Again, that's probably part of a much longer thread. I'm not going to talk about No Man's Sky. And again, I think this is, I'm not sure exactly what he's responding to here, but if the gist is, if you got burned by a game company, yeah, don't pre-order their next one. It's like, I don't even know why that would need saying. It's like, I'm not asking anyone to support something blindly, or, I'm just not. See, so that's interesting. And that's kind of one of the things I said at the top of this. I'm like, there's lots of reasons why games don't sell and maybe aren't as successful as they should be. There's a lot of content out there right now, and it's really hard to make everybody aware. Like, I can't tell you how many times just in my own threads I've said, hey, I no longer work at Sony, and I still get people asking me questions about a game I no longer work on. So it's hard to get all the information. That's not easy. Thank you for that. So thank you, Derek Miller, for the support. Yeah, again, I think that's a bigger thread involving, like, trying to deflect blame to whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not deflecting blame. I definitely think developers are responsible for the game they're making on. Yeah, really, really, Corin, your dead grandmother made a zombie game. Good for her. I didn't work on Bubsy 3D. I've said that a million times as well, but people keep trying to throw that in my face. Like, and number one, I appreciated Jaffe on, I think it was on Jeff's show episode that he was defending Bubsy, as well he should, because again, it was revolutionary. It was before its time. It had lots and lots of great, and if you got past the first couple of levels, it was actually a pretty decent game. You know, on some of the later levels were clever, and Richard Hamm and those guys, you know, again, poured their heart and soul into something, and now it's kind of turned into an industry joke. It's like, oh, the worst game of all time. Yeah, no, I've played worse games. So, but I didn't work on that. And yeah, as I think I mentioned to Jaffe, I think zombies are not played out. I ended up fighting with the press for, you know, for a year before the game came out, where this is all they wanted to talk about. And I think it's a false narrative. I don't think there's a lot of players out there who don't feel that way. So, and I don't think your dead grandma actually made one. So there's that too. Thank you for the support. Thank you. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So I don't remember the exact metrics, but I do know that it would be very difficult to do a demo of an open world game. I just don't know how you would do it. What chunk would you give somebody? And maybe I'm completely wrong about that. So I don't know. Days Gone doesn't even deserve to be pirated, let alone bought. Thank you for that, Sully. Yeah, demos. Not really sure how that would work with a giant open world game with many, many, many moving parts. And honestly, it did. Even if I had fixed the pacing issues at the start of the game, or we had fixed them because they weren't all mine, then I think it would be really hard to just plop the player down in in a 20-minute section of the game and have them have any clue what the game really is, because it was kind of one of those games that was an immersive experience that just took some time, for better or worse. I'm not saying that that's smart business wise or even engaging with an audience wise, but that's what it was. So I'm not sure that a demo could have been done, but I could be wrong. Sounds like an interesting thread. Maybe I'll get back to the start of that. Oh yeah, so this is this is why trying to keep up with this engagement is just tough, because there's this whole thread talking about, like, hey, how come they stop making scary movies for kids? And again, I find that super fascinating. And if my stream hadn't blown up in the last couple of days, I would totally be engaging in this kind of stuff. Because if you follow me, or if you've been looking at how I engage with other gamers who we happen to meet through Days Gone, dude, we talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about pizza and cooking, and we talk about just so anyway, I love scary movies. I've actually had a couple of people that I've made friends with through Days Gone who are writers and creators themselves, and so I love that kind of thing, but I'm not going to take time to address it today. Not really sure how to answer that. No, I'm not blaming consumers. I hope if IGN takes a headline out of this and wants to make up for sending a mob of angry gamers after me, they could say Garvin responds and says, no, he does not blame consumers. No, he does not think you should buy games blindly. No, he does not think that you should be punished and not have fun if you can't afford a game. Thank you for the support. Yes. Yeah, so again, this is a reply, but I know I looked at the original tweet earlier. So he clearly has never had to struggle in his life financially. That's just, again, blatant and utter falsehood. That is a lie. That is not true. I have struggled most of my life, honestly, and so it's just crazy talk. And I don't know where this guy thinks he gets his information from, or what do you think? Because of a false equivalency that he took from something that he thinks I said, he's gonna tell me about what my life is? No, dude, no, you don't get to do that. That's not fair, and it's not truthful. Yeah, no, I didn't do that. That would be horrible if I had done that, by the way. So I would deserve all the pitchforks that are being thrown at me. Okay. Again, wasn't talking about Days Gone. Still not talking about Days Gone. But thanks for that input. I don't know. Are your guys' feed? Do your feeds look like this? It's like just message after message after message of a lot of times just kind of people are just really angry. In fact, Jaffe just did a show about that yesterday, which I watched, and I'll send a link to that too if you haven't seen it, because he spends a lot of the same time with a lot of people doing what I'm trying to do right now, which is just sort of clarifying things, and but man, it's just crazy how angry people are. Piracy's bad. I agree. No, they're not actually. So I agree with this. Maybe I should just be looking for the ones in bold so that I know that they're the original comment instead of the replies and retweets. Yeah, so I read this thread, David, and appreciate the support. You make some good points. More horror movie stuff, which I find interesting. Don't know really what that means. Don't know about the profitability. Don't know whether it's getting a sequel or not. I don't know. So I wish people would stop saying that, Garvin said this about that, because dude, I didn't. Thank you for that support. Again, none of us know this to be true, guys. You got a story from Jason Schreier that, that may or may not have, actual insider information. I don't know. It's how he said it. So totally agree with this, by the way. It's like, again, I obviously have some strong opinions about, the support for my games in the past. And I did not say that as clearly as I should. And obviously there are people who saw the interview and didn't just read the article, and they were kind of upset too. So totally get it. I'll do better. Yeah, so again, I've heard this, so I know it's true. So yes, there are people that have lots and lots of issues, technical issues, frame rate issues, dropout issues, collision issues, so on and so forth. um and Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is, again, I don't know if this is as big a thing as it used to be, but man, I remember when there was a game stop just down the street from where our studio was. And it's like, this is just a reality of the business, guys. It's like, there was a time when players would go into GameStop and buy the games used, and that is not supporting the developers. It's like you buy Golden Abyss for $20 from GameStop. You know who makes the money on that? GameStop, not me. So yes, I get it. Not everybody can afford to pay $60 for a Vita game or whatever, but at the same time, it doesn't alter what I'm saying, which is if you're buying games used, you're not supporting the developers. I don't know how else to say that, and that makes you angry for me saying that. I apologize, and I'm trying to say it in a way that doesn't create headlines that Garvin's blaming consumers again. I'm not. I'm just saying, look, the reality is, you buy it used from GameStop, then you're not partially supporting. You're not supporting at all. unless it has a multiplayer component and there's some sort of a subscription fee to play the online, then used games do not support the developers. They just don't. So sorry. Pricing on games, super interesting. Maybe that's something that Jaffe can get a business person to come on his show and really dig into, because these numbers aren't just made up. The budgets are huge, especially for AAA console games. And I think that I think they're trying to prices of games honestly haven't gone up that much from when I first got into the industry. It's like there was a lot of money to be made back when you could make a AAA game for with 12 people. I'll just say that. Thank you for the support. Don't know what that thread's about. Yeah, so you guys are getting at least an idea of the amount of engagement that's going on with this topic right now. Yeah, so again, thank you for that support. I'm definitely not trying to go after anyone, consumers, gamers, people who can't afford to play games. I do that. It's just that's not my intent. No, I'm not attacking anyone. That's not true. So sorry, that's not true. Yes, do not buy buggy games. I think I've covered that pretty well. Sure, it had problems. I agree. Just want to point out, if you go back and look at the reviews, by the way, there were plenty of people and reviewers that gave it a good review. And so again, this is totally opinion, and I respect your opinion. If you think that the game was bland, generic, blah blah blah, I obviously completely disagree, and I think there are plenty of gamers out there that would disagree that it was not that. So, different strokes, I guess. Piracy bad, don't do that. Yeah, lots of threads comparing, game cost to cars. I'm not sure that that's really, apples to apples there. Yeah, I totally agree with this. I just covered that. I think that reviewers have opinions and they're entitled to them just like everyone else. And I think somebody suggested, and I totally agree that this is a good strategy. Find a reviewer who agrees with you most of the time. And then you won't get burned if they happen to give a game a high score that you play the game and you're like, what were they thinking? Thank you for the support. Yeah, I totally covered this. It's like, yes, I could have chosen my words better, obviously. Thank you for all the support. Yeah, so again, I'm not blaming the consumer. It did ship with bugs. It shouldn't have. And thank you for buying the game early, even though it was buggy. And I apologize for the experience if you didn't have fun with it. And again, I never said anybody can't complain. I don't know where that's coming from. I never said anything like that. So I'm not even sure how to address it. Again, the horror movie thread is super interesting. I'm not really sure how it relates to this thread, but I like it. Complaining about the price. Yes. Yeah, so I started watching Young Ye, and I'm not going to, because again, it's just full of disinformation and really is just trying to create clicks for his own videos, I guess. So I don't have time for that. Yeah, unrelated tweets to pile on is just stupid at this point. So yeah, can't disagree with that. Thank you for that support. Yeah, this is a really good point, and I wish there was a way to do that as well. I'm not saying give more money to game companies, but it would be nice if there were a way. If because if you're playing an ongoing support or a game like I'm playing Path of Exile, there is ways to support them after launch. Because they do all of these different cosmetic packs. So that would be nice if there was a way to show financial support for something that you really enjoyed. Totally agree with that. Already covered it. I don't expect anybody to shell out money for a shitty product. No, I don't expect that. Yes. No, I did not forget about supply and demand. All I was saying is that if the demand isn't there and you can prove the demand is not there because people didn't buy it, then there won't be any more supply. I think that's that's kind of a truth. More horror stuff. Come back to the foreign language ones. I haven't watched this yet, but man, if you're saying it was Titanfilter was criminally underrated, I can't wait to see what that's all about because that's interesting. I worked on this game, by the way, at Titanfilter for a decade and a half, something like that. So again, I love that franchise, love those characters, love that game, and appreciate everybody who played it back in the day. And thank you. Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff about Raimi's Evil Dead 2 and how that got greenlit, even though the first game or the first movie flopped. So totally. So again, good, it's your opinion. You're welcome to it. So I don't have a problem with it. There is a slight difference, by the way, between movies, I think, and games, in that if a film or a TV series, let's talk about a TV series. Here's the most famous one that I know of. TV series came out in 1968 and bombed. It got canceled after two episodes. It got canceled after two seasons. And then the fans who super loved it sent in letters. They had a letter writing campaign. So it got renewed for a third season, but then it got canceled. And for those who don't know, that franchise was Star Trek. And so it was a huge bomb. And then it was dead, and it was dead forever. I think there was a cartoon series that came out in the 70s. So what happened is Star Wars comes out, and then Paramount looks through their library of old shit and they say, hey, this Star Trek thing, they have lots of conventions going on. Fans are still engaging with it. So, Star Trek the Motion Picture got greenlit. And then shortly after that, it's like all the Star Trek movies and Star Trek Next Generation and 5 other Star Trek series. So that's a really good example of how engagement and that wasn't financial, because Paramount didn't make a dime off of all the fans who loved the original Star Trek series, and tried to keep it alive in their hearts and brought it back to life through just their overall support. So with TV and movies, I think it's way more probable that if you have other kinds of support for something, you can bring it back to life. I really think that that's true. For games, it's tougher though, because it's like games cost so much to make. I mean, I'm not saying that Star Trek the Motion Picture was cheap. I'm just saying that I don't know how you would engage with that. I don't know how fans could engage with any game company for a game that got canceled to try to get them to bring it back to life. I'm not sure how that would work. I'm not sure how to do that, but certainly Star Trek fans managed to do it. So there's that. Yeah, I think I commented on this one earlier. Totally valid experience. Yes, I think I covered that. I totally agree. Yep, totally agree. So I appreciate these comments. I really, really do. It's like, so I have read books, and I haven't played any games that have had this impact on me, but I've certainly, read books and seen movies that just had a huge impact on me, at certain points in my life. And, to be able to create something that has that kind of an impact is a blessing. I did not poverty shame anyone. So again, I know poverty. I grew up with a lot of poverty, and I know what that's about. So again, I wasn't trying to say in any way that people should pay money for things they cannot afford. So, um, you know, please be aware of that. That's not what I was saying. Thank you for that. Yes, I am big dumb, so I can't argue with that. Um, yeah, so I get, there are a couple other things I would like to add to this again, because I'm not talking about Days Gone. But I will say that it's totally possible that people come to something that they love after the window has closed for supporting it. So, whether it's Days Gone, or, a movie that they should have seen at the box office and didn't, maybe they rented it or they saw it on Netflix later. And that I'm not trying to invalidate any of those experiences. It's like, hey, enjoy what you enjoy, come to it when you come to it. And I'm not judging that. All the Evil Dead threads are interesting. A lot of that stuff I didn't know. Thank you, people, again, supporting the game, defending the game. I appreciate all of you. Not putting a paywall on anything, by the way, on opinions or on the art itself. So I don't know, again, where that comes from. If but I will tell you this, that if Leonardo painted Mona Lisa and couldn't sell it, then he wouldn't paint another one. So unless he was just, into painting for the joy of painting and didn't care whether his work had an impact or had an audience or whatever, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm not putting a paywall on that. That's a reality of economics. It's like, Ford brings out a new model and nobody buys it, they're not going to keep making that model. That's common sense to me. And I don't know why it seems so controversial. Like people have it's the way I worded it. It made it seem like I was telling people to buy Days Gone, and I wasn't talking about Days Gone. So like this person, I never said that. So again, I don't agree that you should have to buy something unless it's what you want to pay for it. Yes, I agree that games should be more polished and less buggy if they want players to be happy about paying money for them. I totally agree. Again, I don't know what the financials are on Days Gone. I wasn't talking about Days Gone, but I appreciate the support. I think we're almost to the end of this. Yes, sorry about the bugs. More Metacritic stuff. Sorry about the bugs. Um, Thank you for the support. Thank you for that. All right. So again, this is a common thread that I see, and there's just a lot of stuff in this that I don't agree with. I don't believe it's a mediocre game. Even if I was talking about Days Gone, which I was not, I don't think it was a mediocre game. I don't know what the sales are. I do know that piracy has hurt games. So a lot of messages like that are like, oh, okay, you heard something and you make some assumptions that aren't true, make some conclusions that I just frankly disagree with. All right. I do apologize if I've scrolled past something and not addressed an important issue, but I think I've covered all of the big ones now. So the big issues that came up out of the interview and my poor wording, um, is that, games are expensive. Yes, games come out buggy, and they shouldn't. That is true as well. Gamers should not be responsible for beta testing your game. They should not have to pay full price for something that's not worth it. They should not have to pay for anything that they can't afford. There's absolutely nothing wrong with waiting for something to go on sale or to do subscriptions. It's like Jaffe was saying that he's a huge fan and supporter of the various subscription services. I don't know that much about him, to be honest, so I didn't really have an opinion on that. But I'm not a huge fan of paying subscriptions myself. But if that's how you can play games, then do it. It's like I wasn't addressing any of that. But all I was trying to say was, if you want more of something, it has to be successful, however you define that. And I could be completely wrong that there are lots of ways. Like maybe this petition for Days Gone 2, maybe that'll have an effect, or maybe they're already making Days Gone 2. That's why I say I don't know. But it's possible that I think it's just the truth. It's the truth that if you want something, it's got to be successful. And I made the mistake of saying, hey, that means buying it at full price, fucking full price. And that's kind of bad wording on my part. Find things that you love, and if you love them, find a way to support it. That's really what I should have said. And I have been burned by people not supporting my games in the past by pirating them and so forth. And that's what I was kind of trying to say. So in his context of, how do you feel about your games being put on subscription services and whatever? And what I should have said was, hey, I love the idea that more people get to play the game, because that's kind of what it's all about. But on the other hand, if the game isn't successful, you're not going to get to keep doing it. So there was a tweet earlier where somebody said, what's the solution? And dude, I don't have one. I don't know what the solution is. I just know that especially if it's a big, bold idea of a game, like if like I think The Last of Us 2 was a big, bold choice in terms of how they're doing their narrative. And it was obviously very polarizing. If that game was super successful critically, but didn't sell, do you think they would do another one? I don't think they would. So I don't know. It's a tough one. Yeah. So again, I think those are the main points. So I'm not going to scroll all the way to the end of this because I think I've covered all the big ones. I do apologize if you had a comment or criticism and I didn't get to it. And obviously I'm going to keep reading my feed. But obviously the ones that I've already covered here, it's like, I just want you guys to know that, hey, this is not my intent. It may be, the letter of the words that I said, but that's not really what I was trying to say. And I did choose my words poorly, and I will try to do better at that. But I just wanted to get this out there because, again, there's a lot of misinformation, and that I just kind of wanted to clear up, because I'm a gamer, and I appreciate all the comments, certainly good, but I appreciate all the criticisms as well. And just know I'm not in the game industry at the moment. So, but I still feel the pain of everything you guys feel, which is, games are expensive. And, if I did have $12 million, then, maybe I wouldn't complain about that, but I don't. So, all right, I'm going to wrap this up. If you managed to watch all of this, and honestly, if you watched the David Jaffe interview, which was 4 hours long, I do appreciate you. And, and thank you for being interested enough in, you know, anything that I've worked on to engage and comment. And thanks.